Hello mga ka-learners! Today, we're going to study another lesson for the module entitled, Are You Listening? Our lesson today is called Analyzing and Predicting Using Oral Information. In another lesson, you learned that whenever you listen to texts or passages, it is important to focus and pay attention to what is being said. In one other lesson, you learned to analyze oral texts by identifying the main idea and the supporting details. You also learned that to clearly understand what you hear, you need to analyze it. Words may convey meanings, but how these words are spoken reveal the speaker's attitude or feeling and trend of thought. Being aware of this, you can make your own predictions. At the end of this lesson, you were expected to be able to identify clues that show the speaker's attitude or trend of thought and confirm your prediction. Suppose you hear from your groupmate that it is all right with him that you would arrive late. Would you believe him right away? What other information would you want to find out based on what he said? Would you want to be convinced by actually feeling that he meant what he said? That's what our lesson today will tackle. I'm going to read the passage in two different manners. First version. Good morning, my fellow students. My name is Mon Gualvez. I'm standing before you this morning asking for your votes as Vice President. I'm doing well in school and I'm here to be a better student. Second version. Good morning, my fellow students. My name is Mon Gualvez. I'm standing before you this morning asking for your votes as Vice President. I'm doing well in school and I'm here to be a better student. What you heard are two versions of the same speech. The first one was said in an unconvincing manner. On the other hand, the second version was said with more conviction and feeling. Most people would vote for the speaker who delivered his speech in the same way as the second one was done. If you compare the two versions, you will note an important thing. It is that the speaker's attitude can be inferred from how a piece was said as well as what he said. Inferred means reasoned out. This is called hearing between the lines. You can tell whether the speaker is sad, angry, happy, or unconvinced just by listening to how he said his piece. The same words can be said in different ways, each one conveying a different attitude or trend of thought. Now that you know that attitudes can be reflected in the way a piece is said, what clues should one look for to identify these attitudes or trends of thought? While listening, take note of the following. These will give you clues on the speaker's message between the lines. Letter A. Tone of voice used. Is it happy, sad, or convincing? Letter B. Speed. Was it fast or slow? Letter C. Choice of words. Some words convey more feelings than others. For example, saying overjoyed instead of happy. Although they mean the same thing, it would be more effective for some speeches. After you have identified the attitude of the speaker and the message of the oral text, you can now make a prediction based on what you have heard. Do you know what to predict means? To predict is to state a possible or probable outcome. It means guessing what will happen in the future. The first version is not as convincing as the second one because the attitude depicted in the first one is that of being weak or helpless. Most people would predict that the speaker of the first version would not be a good choice for a candidate and would not do well in the job if ever he wins. What would you predict if you heard the principal announcing that your teacher is sick? You would easily predict that your teacher would be absent from class, wouldn't you? How would this information affect you if he or she was your favorite teacher? It could be terrible news for you. These are predictions based on the details of information heard. How would you confirm if the prediction is true? In the case of your teacher, the best way is to ask him or her directly in a nice way. We can make a lot of predictions based on statements heard. However, our predictions may not always be true. We have to be careful when making predictions. The best way to confirm a prediction is to ask the person involved directly or make observations. It's time for a short quiz. I'm going to read you a live-read radio script, and after listening, answer the corresponding questions. Did you know that next week is National Mental Health Awareness Week? When you live a healthy lifestyle, you can help others do the same. Visit Radio FM 123.4's website at radiofm.com to learn more. Sponsored by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. If you missed any information, you may rewind and listen to the live read radio one more time. To test your listening skills, answer the following questions. Number 1. What is the script about? Number 2. What is the attitude of the speaker? Number 3. What can you predict from the statements that you heard? You may compare your answers to the matching answer key of this lesson when you check into your online LMS account. Let's recap what this lesson is about. Number 1. Tone of voice, speed, and choice of words are clues that show the speaker's attitudes and trend of thought. It is important to determine this in oral texts. This is called hearing between the lines. Number 2. Predictions are statements about the future based on information heard or read. Number 3. The best way to confirm a prediction is to make observations later on or ask the person concerned. And that wraps up this lesson from the module entitled, Are You Listening? In this module, you have learned how to listen attentively to the content or message of spoken texts and answers to questions raised earlier. You have learned how to listen with comprehension. Listening with comprehension is being able to understand and evaluate spoken words that you receive as information. In another lesson, you studied how to determine the main idea and supporting details of a selection heard, as well as determine the steps in a process discussed orally. In this lesson, you learned how to identify clues that reveal the speaker's attitude or trend of thought. You also learned to confirm predictions based on information that you hear. Thanks for learning with me today, mga ka-learners. I hope that we were able to impart new knowledge sa inyo.